So I wanted to do another build here. This is Belligerent 34 about ARs. The first thing I wanted to cover is the specializations that I think you should run if you're using assault rifles. The gunner I think is probably the best one. There's a lot of things that were just made for rapid fire killing and all kinds of stuff. You get armor on kill. Now you can reload faster. Medkit's pretty good, gives you bonus armor. It's got some mods for some of the different pulses. You get the Banshee. You can regenerate ammo. When you're killing stuff, you fire faster, and it's just going to keep helping you kill even more. You get weapon handling, can help you handle some of those fire faster in ARs. And then I just, spec'd into like, assault rifles, LMGs, SMGs, just the rapid fire ones really. The minigun, right foam grenade. I think like this whole specialization was just set up to help you kill things, help you things kill faster, stay alive. It's got pretty good survivability. And the minigun's pretty cool too. Like when you pull it out, it gives you, kind of what your medkit does, a little overshield. And then when you're killing stuff, let's take a look.
Inventory.
Alright. Up to 50% bonus armor. And then when you're hitting stuff, 1% armor on hit. That's pretty decent. It could keep you alive in a tough situation. Some of the other specializations that you could get away with is tactician. But looking at the looking at the other ones like sharpshooter, there's really not much here for assault rifles. This is geared towards rifles and marksmen. Doesn't mean you can't do it. You'll get a little bit of benefit from this, but the other stuff is really geared towards, headshot damage. It can give you extra cover, or ammo, or armor, sorry, armor when you're in cover. And you can proc things like intimidate and stuff by doing that. Survivalist. You could do it too, but there's not a lot of benefits. If you could find maybe some status effects, bleed builds. You get I think it's a range, like optimal range mag. And then it's only going to help you for shooting farther away. With assault rifles, you're pretty much going to be close to mid-range. Demo. You could probably get away with demo. Demo is just an all-around, pretty safe, build for a lot of reasons. This is what helps every group, damage the targets out of cover. Especially in the raids, this could be a lifesaver. And then anytime your armor breaks, it just refills your main weapon. So if you use Unbreakable, you can kind of time it a little bit. Never have to reload, at least for 2 whole clips. But, you don't want to be relying on that. That's just kind of like it says crisis response. It's like a oh shit button. This is a pretty good mod too. It gives you a 7% crit hit chance. But it sucks you gotta spec into SMGs for it. So you're really just doing this for the mod, not to really use SMGs. That doesn't mean you can't really use them in raids, but you're going to find yourself running out a lot of ammo. You have to build specifically if you're going to use that. But in the tactician, one of the main reasons you could run an AR build is this linked laser pointer. It works very well with the pulse, because that's what this does. Whenever you're aiming at something, it pulses them so you can see them, everybody else could see them. And you could use spotter on your chest piece, and you could do amplify damage. Now this, if you use tactician, this could actually work pretty good in dark hours. Fighting the Black Tusk, there's lots of drones, there's, that's not turrets, but there's the robot dogs. And that's even Buddy and Lucy. So this could be a fairly decent thing, specialization to run. But I really would recommend gunner as like an overall, this would be first place, second place. Maybe Firewall could be third, you know, because you're going to be shooting most of your enemies up close, you know, and then if your armor breaks, sets them on fire, buys you some time, you know. Not really going to be doing a whole lot of cover to cover, but it could help. And this just makes the burn last longer. The med kit's amazing. I'm starting to think about some other stuff like using efficient or perfectly efficient, that everyday character or carrier. It doubles this, so that could be like 400% armor and health over 10 seconds. But this health on kill, it's only going to help you if your armor's broken and you're fighting for your life pretty much, so you don't want to be in a spot like that. Cluster grenades, kind of lackluster in my opinion. And then the rest of this is just for the flamethrower, you know, killing things that are close to you. So I mean, this could help in a few situations. But like I said, I think these two are the top two. Maybe this is like runner-up number 3. So let me show you some builds.
Inventory.
This one is a perfect Overwatch build I use in some of the raids with the Eagle Bear. Right? Now the Eagle Bear, a lot of people want it, get it, don't use it, or don't understand its talent here, tenacity. If you can kill stuff, you won't die from this buff. But if you kill like 1 or 2 ads and you're taking damage, it's gonna kind of like backfire on you a little bit. You would have to build a decent amount of headshot, because that's what this is. That's what it procs off of, headshot kills. But it's not entirely necessary. I mean, there's a lot of ways to build. I just run sort of standard DPS, you know. So here's the 3 Providences. Mask. You know, I use a holster here because I'm using this is the named chest piece that comes out of the Dark Zone, or if you get lucky enough, you can get out of named caches, and it gives you perfect Overwatch. Now the only difference between this perfect Overwatch and regular Overwatch, I think it's like 2 seconds before it procs. It still gives you the same amount of weapon damage and skill damage, but this applies to everybody. So this is a pretty strong group buff. Only catch is you have to stay in cover or be moving in cover. It can be a little tricky to maneuver in some of the raids, but most of the time you are sitting in cover, so it's not a bad thing to run. On my backpack, I really am still looking for one that has vigilance on it. I only use this because this was the best rolls I had for companion. And then, you know, I'm running the contractor's gloves, Fox's prayers. Alright, stats are pretty decent. You know, I'm kind of the school of thought that why build to 60% crit hit chance when I know that's a cap, when chances are more likely than not at least one person runs a Coyote's mask, so all that crit chance is going to be kind of wasted. I would say shoot for like 50. If you're above 50, should be more than enough, and then stack as much crit hit damage as you can. You're always going to want a Reviver Hive, and then I use this TDA card for the skill tier, right? Because if you have to pick somebody up, you can switch to it. This will give you 2 charges instead of 1, so you can pick somebody up, pick it up, and have it for yourself. Turrets are pretty decent overall skill to use, but being the gunner, you know, you can mess around with some stuff. You can use Banshee Pulse. You know, catch ads coming out of the door, confuse them. You know, it kind of does what the Scorpio already does. You know, you can pulse. Don't really need to mess around with these too much. The remote pulse just pulses an area. It's like you throw a little, almost like throwing a grenade, but it stays there. It just shows you who's in the area. Could be good for just watching certain areas, but this thing covers a whole, like almost a whole map when you use it. There's other things you could run to if you want to. Blinder is never a bad thing. Pretty long cooldown though. Riot Foam helps a lot of people. Keeps the ads from running around. And so this is just one build. You know, I'm using, like I said, Eagle Bear, Maker's Dozen, or an M1A, and those are the kind of stats you're looking for, you know, on any weapon. Like so whatever the damage is, crit hit damage, damage to targets out of cover. So this is just, you know, like I said, one build, right? So here are some others I gotta find. Okay, so here's what I was talking about with the technician. Now, I'm messing around using some slower firing ones that hit really hard. Now, under barrel, it only goes under long under barrel. It can't be a short one. So like the FAMAS, it won't work on FAMAS. So you might have to use different assault rifles for this to work. And let's go to the range and I'll show you guys some numbers so you can be the judge and figure out what you want to do. I don't know why this keeps going to normal. Okay, I put everything on heroic. We'll go to named enemy. And we'll try 5 meters. Okay. Alright, so just by aiming at it, and there it's already pulsed.
Inventory.
So just to show you a little bit more about the build, you know, I'm still running a Fenris at least once. Still got 3 Providences, and I switched this one to Vigilance because it's, you know, it's still gotta optimize it. Still running Contractors, Foxes. Alright, now if you look at this, right, amplifies total weapon and skill damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. So you don't have to run a pulse, you can run a different skill, because every time you aim at something, no matter what it is, it takes a minute, it'll pulse it. And now if you just fire, you can see that some of those shots were hitting well over 1 million. Alright, now this one, now that's
Inventory.
That's what's measured, right? First half fires quick, not so much damage. Bottom half fires slow but hits harder. Alright, so now I'm using AKM with strained. Or no, oh no. Nope, that's the same one. I forgot to switch, my bad. Here we go. There it is. So you can see, AKM strain sitting like 100k harder. So you could put up pretty good numbers with these slower firing ones, right? In the spotter. Now, let's check out some different weapons. Like ACR is not bad. I was even messing around with the Savage Wolverine here. And you can use this because it's got a long underbarrel. Put the laser pointer on it. You always want to go for 20 round mag, 10%. And then usually crit hit chance. But if you got enough crit hit chance, you could switch it to crit hit damage. Alright, so the way the perfect
Inventory.
up close and personal works is 7 meters. So this is a good, you know, we're at 5, 6, you know, it's weird, but you can see it's hitting high 800s, mid-range 900s after you know, proc it. And it fires pretty good.
Inventory.
It's not a bad weapon, only negative thing I would say is it only gives you 3 mod slots. Alright, so where other weapons could give you 4. So I mean, those are just some ideas to throw out there. Here's a rail splitter. Right, I believe it's a CTAR. It's 50% accuracy, and this one's got, I think this is a short one. No, we could do it too. Yeah, it's a short one. So this won't work with spotter, but that's not a bad AR to use. Let me see which other ones I had here. We'll go with the ACR, I'll show you guys. Put the laser pointer on. I got a crit hit. Oh, that's damage. Let's try for chance. Alright, now you check your stats. And it's a little bit lower, but you can see the numbers are still pretty decent because the damage is up high. Yeah, it's not fully optimized, but ACR fires faster than those other ones. And you can see that it was still hitting pretty hard, 900, and the last shot was over 1,000,000. So there's a lot of choices when it comes to that. There's even G36 fires pretty hard, but these are just some other ones I wanted to show you. And some different builds. So let's show you. We're gonna go to crafting table, or or whatever this is, optimization table, recalibration station. There we go. And we'll talk about some of the talents, right? So you're always looking for those, the God roll, right? You know, your weapon damage. Assault rifles have health damage, and you'd like to get damage to targets out of cover. Now you can do damage to armor. You can make builds that way. But some of the better talents could be Optimist. Basically just by pulling the trigger, the longer you fire, the more damage you're doing. You know, you saw close and personal. It does, you know, you're going to be close anyway, so it's just if you kill them a little bit too far away, it won't always work, so it's not as reliable. Strained works really well on some of those slow firing ARs that I showed you, you know, the Fall, the AKM, slow firing ARs. This is a pretty strong talent. Fast hands is just, you know, that's what it is. Like, you want to keep firing. This could work really well with Gunner. It's not going to do too much for your damage, but it's going to keep your damage more consistent. You know, like more, it's sort of like a Bullet King. How you don't have to reload. You know, you're constantly putting out damage even though it's not a whole lot. This is sort of like what that does. You know, you just, with weapon handling and stuff, it's actually kind of fun to do it. Killer can be kind of tricky just because you have to kill something with a crit hit chance, with a crit hit. But 40% crit hit damage is a pretty significant chunk. You know, Breadbasket, I wouldn't bother with it. Preservation, maybe with like some sort of tank build or something, or you know, with the Gunner, I mean, it might work really well. Just to kind of keep yourself alive if you're worried about it. Sadist is only if you're, you know, you could use it with Ridgeway's Pride. It's probably the easiest way to do it. I would not recommend Ranger, because if you look at it, it's already like 5 meters, right? So it's only going to give you 2% amplified damage. Now it is multiplied when it's figuring out the damage, but you know, this is meant for like longer range weapons, you know, and if you're shooting at ads that are farther away, there is a drop-off point for your, you know, your weapons. Steady-handed, I wouldn't recommend it. Vindictive's only for like status builds, really, or if somebody's using status builds. So I would recommend, like, I would use Optimist. You know, there's some other ones. InSync is a good one, because most of the time you're using a turret or something else, and it's just 30% damage right there. Measured, I like Measured. It's pretty solid. You know, it's a lot of fun when it's just, you know, lighten it up and then finish it off. These other ones, I mean, the weapon handling is pretty decent, but it's not necessarily going to increase your damage. It will make it easier for you to aim, make you faster reloads, so in a sense it could kind of help. But when you're comparing it to other talents, it's just going to get left in the dust. And this one, this is for like, that's why they call it nearsighted, because you're going to have to be really close to enemies. You won't do much to anything that's pretty far away, because it's reducing your optimal range even more. And this talent always comes on the Carbine 7. And the only problem with that weapon is getting the right rolls on it so you can shake the talent off of it. I've messed around with this before on the, was it the Maniac? It just kind of gives you a little bit more bullets every now and then. So it's comparable to like Fast Hands, you know, reloading faster. That one just makes it so you don't have to reload as often. So not really the best talents. Alright, And then here's some ideas for different chest talents, right? So we already talked about spotter. It's all amplified damage. Anything that amplifies is it's going to give you what it's basically saying is it multiplies the damage. Same thing with intimidate, right? But we're like this, it just gives you, you know, total. When it says total, it's just adding the extra weapon damage to it. Intimidate, spotter, glass cannon, those are all amplified damage. You're gonna get bigger numbers at, but there's drawbacks to each. You know, like intimidate, you have to be, you know, within 10 meters, and you have to have bonus armor. Like I was showing you before with sharpshooter, as long as you're in cover, you get bonus armor. So that's one way you could do it. If you're running with a tank that's proc and vanguard, you get bonus armor. If you want to use, what was it? And I'll show you some of the backpack talents, but adrenaline rush. Those are usually the two common ones that get paired together. Focus is more longer range things, not so much for assault rifles. Brace, it's just kind of fun to mess around with that extra weapon handling being in cover. But obliterate, that can be a good solid build for ARs because you already want your crit chance fairly high, and the stacks go up pretty quick depending on if you have a, you know, fast firing one or slow firing one. So this is not a bad option either. But yeah, this was something I was just thinking about with efficient. You know, this could be used for a lot of different situations. You know, in a lot of the raids, some of the fights are kind of long, and how many times you find yourself running around with no armor or looking for med kits where, you know, the perfect version of this, it's on a, I forgot what it's called, this Bellstone, I think. But if you get the right rolls, you could turn it all red. Could be a really solid piece because it's 75% chance not to use one. And, you know, like it says, it doubles the, whatever your special armor kit does. So like for the gunner, you know, it's going to fill you back up, gives you 30% bonus armor, so it would double that to 60. And the firewall, it'd be like 400% armor and health, but over 10 seconds. So it could be a strong, really survivability thing, you know, if you're doing the Overwatches and Razorback, things like that. Headhunter is more for, you know, headshot builds, not so much with the AR rifles, marksman rifles. Trench, never really messed around with it. But tamper-proof, it helps control ads in a lot of different situations. You know, you don't have to necessarily make a build around it. Just have a chess piece with the talent, keep everything else the same. You know, if you have to watch doors or control ads, you know. But yeah, obliterate's the top one. If you know what you're doing, glass cannon can be good. Unbreakable is a safe way to go. For intimidate, you just have to figure out how you're going to do it, how you're going to get that armor, and you can rock that, or, you know, go with spotter. The rest of these, more for skills kind of stuff, not so much just weapon damage. Alright, and then backpack talents. Combined arms could work, it works with hybrid builds. A lot of this is skill stuff. Overcharge, that's healing. Bloodsucker, it's just more survivability, but you have to be the one that's killing it to get the bonus stacks of armor. These other ones, more like utility, tank, but vigilance is probably one of the best for damage, as long as you're not getting hit. Versatile can work, it's just weapon swap and being mindful of it. You know, you're going to use, you would have to use an LMG and assault rifle, I believe, the way it's got this one red. But once again, it's amplified damage, you know, and but the only catch with this one too is they have to be 15 to 25 meters away, so might not be the best choice. But this, solid overall damage, unstoppable force. If you're the only one killing them, it could be good, but if you don't get the kills that you need, your damage is going to fall off, and the stacks only last for 15 seconds. So this could be tricky to run. Wouldn't really recommend it. Composure, just stick and cover. Hey, got 15% damage. Companion can help. as long as you're near a group, you know. And so like these two are pretty decent, but this one definitely, you know, that's the way you get the bigger numbers. Concussion, it's kind of tricky. You have to kill with headshots, otherwise it's useless. Creeping Death is for statuses. Oh, here we go. There's Adrenaline Rush and Clutch. Different survivabilities. This one is, I would, for something like this, I would try to get your build to 60% and not rely on somebody that has Coyote's Mask. It could, you know, in a tight situation, save your life. But, you know, since you're going to be close to enemies, Adrenaline Rush could be a good choice, and you can pair it with Intimidate. Other than that,
Inventory.
that's kind of my little rundown of, you know, AR builds. You know, I got a bunch of different ones, different specializations. You know, I try to find out, like, you know, how I could do it, what I could use it with, and here's something too you could do. I set this up to where pretty much you keep this as a template, and you can change your chest pieces to whatever you want. You know, if nobody's running tardigrade, you could throw it on. You know, if you want to change this, right, find an AR with Sadis, right, and this is putting bleed just by shooting anything that's within 15 meters, and you're definitely going to be doing that, right? So make it work that way. You know, you could even, this was something I paired it with. I set this up just for the Pestilence, but it would work with an AR. You know, ongoing directive. Not a lot of people use it. It's actually got some pretty decent stuff to it. And the hollow point ammo does amplified damage again. Right? And the backpack just makes the bleeds last longer. More damage. Right? And then you would change the skills, you know, Reviver, Hive, Turret, whatever you want to use. I'm using this just for the longer bleeds, and then if you can finish off an enemy, you can give your group, you know, that vindictive buff. So, a lot of different ways to set up ARs. They're a really solid weapon choice. And let me see if there's anything else I could show you guys. Oh yeah, so here was what I was talking about with the Coyote's Mask, right? More than likely you're going to be in that 0 to 15 range, you know, if you want to provide the buff. So it's crit hit damage, you know, obliterate. So I'm dropping, just to run this, I'm dropping the third piece of Providence because I will make up more than what it was losing with the buff from the mask, and just keep the other pieces. But some people would take out, you know, the gloves. You could run another Providence. You could even do, I mean, you could do Grupo Sombra. You know, the weapons still, it's your choice. I've already kind of showed you some of them, some of the different talents, how they work. You know, and don't forget about your grenades too, depending on what specialization you're in. But the riot foam grenades are pretty cool. You know, if you know where the ads are coming, just set them up. You'll be able to take them all down in like a clip or two. You know, you could empty this one and just switch right over. And, you know, the one pulse I'm missing on this character is the Achilles pulse too. You know, the mods for the gunner still work in the Achilles pulse, you know, radius and effect duration. So, I hope this helps. You know, feel free to mix things up. Something I'll tell you too is just a lot of pieces can be changed, you know, but you're really looking for talents. You know, it's just, and there's different ways to do it too. Like some people put a couple Walker and Harris and they could stack, you know, damage to armor. You know, but can't really beat the Fox's prayers. Just, you know, even though I know it says rifle damage on it, that damage to targets out of cover really affects your damage in a lot of ways. Yeah, you know, just keep on farming, looking for pieces, try new things. You know, there's probably stuff in here I didn't even mention that maybe you guys think about. Another thing too, some people, you could even use the shield if you're going to go with a flare wall. Crusader Shield, and then you get another buff to your teammates if they're around you, and the damage to yourself. And that would be a pretty good build to run with Intimidate and Adrenaline Rush. You know, Firewall, Shield, and, you know, keep the whatever pieces you want. Yeah, I hope this helps. You guys take care.